Scott of the state of Florida. He's meeting with other FEMA officials as he prepares to get into his vehicle on his route to Naples, Florida.
Yes, he's going to travel. He's got quite an entourage here today, and we saw Senator Marco Rubio on the plane with Vice President Mike Pence and, of course, his wife, the Second Lady Karen Pence. So there's going to be quite an entourage today as they take a look, and it's important for them to see the damage here. I think it's one thing to see pictures of it on TV, and it is devastating when you look at it. It's another thing to see it in person and to imagine that, there were people living in those homes and there were lives and families and where are they going to go and what are they going to do now? How do they begin to rebuild? I think that's one thing that when you see it firsthand, it really comes to light.
One of the things, we can show the pictures, Carter, but you're there, and all morning long we've been talking about the need to get electricity back up and running. One of the primary reasons is because it is hot and people need air conditioning. We can't tell how hot it is out there. I know you've been inside buildings. Just how sweltering is it?
It is hot. I'm used to LA and it's not as humid. It's the humidity, I think, that's the worst part. It's probably in the mid to upper 80s, but the humidity is probably 90%. And so as soon as you get outside, it feels like someone threw a hot, wet blanket on you. Now, this is when you really look forward to getting inside to the air conditioning, and a lot of people do not have that to go to right now. And then again, also think about this. These homes and all of these buildings here were designed to be air conditioned all the time. They're not designed to have a free flow of air through the home. So it's a very, very uncomfortable situation. I've talked to people who said they're barely sleeping at night because they're sweating it out in bed the whole time. And they're going to hotels to get a little relief from some air conditioning.
Yeah, and it's something that we've heard over and over from not just you, Carter, but from our correspondents on the ground. The little things that we take for granted, having a air-conditioned room, being able to use the toilet, having communications, being able to charge your phones. We live in a world where our phones are in many instances, the most important device that we have in our lives. And for so many millions of people right now, that just isn't possible. And so to have the President of the United States, who generally the President takes on the role of consoler-in-chief to let people know, look, the federal government is hearing your concerns and is going to try to do as best as they can to provide resources to, in this case, the governor of the state, Rick Scott.
It's important for him to see this. One of the things that struck me yesterday when I was headed out to look at that orange grove is just the massive number of those high voltage power lines that were down, those main transmission lines, the ones that are on really big poles, really high up. And because that area where I was is where the eye wall came through, so that was the most vicious winds, about 135, 140 miles per hour.
Carter, just stand by one moment, Carter. The President is talking. Let's listen.
Looking for extreme border security and surveillance, everything else. We also have to get the wall. It doesn't have to be here, but they can't obstruct the wall, whether it's in a budget or something else, when we're ready.
Are you open to citizenship for Dreamers over time?
No, we're not looking at citizenship. We're not looking at amnesty. We're looking at allowing people to stay here. We're working with everybody, Republican. We're working with Democrat. I just spoke with Paul Ryan. He's on board. Everybody's on board. They want to do something. We're not talking about amnesty. We're talking about taking care of people that were brought here, people that have done a good job and were not brought here of their own volition. But very importantly, what we want, we have to have a wall. If the wall is going to be obstructed when we need the funds at a little bit later date,